Hello, this is Terry Gingrass. I am a clinical psychologist, and this is Dr. G's ADHD Chat, the show trying to make the world safe for ADHDers. I'm a clinical psychologist and neuropsychologist. I'm in private practice, and I have been working with ADHD for a long time, for more than 40 years. I have two kids that are ADHD. I have a set of in-laws that are mostly ADHD. And I started with all this before ADHD was even a formal diagnosis. That was 1980, if you're interested. Okay, I just got back from a conference, a podcast conference, which was a very interesting experience, but it also gave me a chance to observe ADHDers at play. Interesting thing is that most experts and a bunch of research suggest that somewhere around 70 to 80% of entrepreneurs are ADHD or should be diagnosed, I suppose is the way to put it. It's an ideal setting for, somebody who's creative, somewhat impulsive, likes to be excited about things, and likes to be in charge of their own lives. And boy, that's probably podcasting right now, and as it is in the world of internet, it's interesting. It's basically kind of the same thing as Facebook Lives or YouTube, but I suppose the big advantage is that it's kind of a permanent thing. If you get a whole bunch of content out there in the world, it stays and people can look it up years and years later. Anyway, so it was an interesting, very interesting conference, and it was totally organized differently than anything I had ever been to before. And I've been to a bunch of conferences. Okay, I've been a clinical psychologist for 44 years. I have been to conferences, that's where you get your CEUs and all that stuff. I just never have seen one organized like this. It was mostly organized electronically. It was just in one big hall. To participate in a particular seminar, you had to have the headsets for that seminar. And then you gave them back and they sanitized them and put them back out for the next seminar. Fascinating. But I always joke that, I go to a conference and I tell them I work with ADHD. I always get a group of people around me asking about questions about sometimes their relatives, or sometimes it's honestly about themselves. But it was it was an interesting crowd, and every time there was you spend a lot of time, if you go to one of these things, telling what you talk about and what your show topic is, da 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 da. So every time I did that, I go, oh yeah, man, I've had that for, my kid has that. Anyway, there was just a lot of people who were recognizing that they had ADHD and that they weren't ashamed of saying it to somebody. Basically, these are entrepreneurs, and they found a slot in life where they can do well. And a lot of them are making pretty big money with entrepreneurship, podcasting. And some of them, it's kind of a hobby kind of thing. But this was a kind of an amazing thing. There were people who were being successful with topics from genetics to doing 1930s style radio mysteries, which I've heard some of those when they were actually on the radio, and that's an interesting thing to consider doing. It was fascinating how many different topics people had, and how how they came to, be doing that. I wasn't really trying to do research. I was just, noticing stuff as I wandered around there. But it was, it was fascinating. It shows you kind of if you pick the right situation, your ADHD is not much of a handicap. If you pick a area where you're in charge, you're creative, problem solving, take action kind of, your ADHD, it's a pretty good place to be. And, most of the people I talked to were not on medication. And so, I guess it shows that if you're in the right environment, being your typical hyper-vigilant, energetic, so et cetera, ADHD is not a real handicap. So I was impressed with that. It was, like I said, and most of them were reasonably successful. You had to be successful to afford the conference, basically. And understand when you're on a podcast schedule, you have to figure out how often you're going to publish. And so nobody's going to tell you have to do it every week. Nobody's going to have to tell you have to do it 3 times a week. You decide. And then you have to make it happen. Because the major emphasis in there is that you want to be successful as a podcaster, you've got to be consistent. You got to do it. You say you're going to do it once a week. You have to do it once a week. You can't be doing it, once a week and then take 2 weeks off and then, what the heck, you have to do it as you say you will. And guess what? Most of these people don't have any trouble with that. You think of the executive function problems that ADHDers have, and that, like time management, sense of time passage, organizing, scheduling, all that is a problem, supposedly. But these are folks that are doing some pretty complicated things. Like the guy who does the radio mystery podcasts. He's got 4 or 5 people he's got to coordinate with, to do the different parts on the radio show. And he's the person who has genetics as a topic has like 70 sponsors, 70 that she has to coordinate with and keep them organized and provide them with enough airtime that they're satisfied. So there's a lot of organization going on. So don't tell yourself that you can't organize anything because you've got ADHD. It's kind of a breath of fresh air for me. It's very good for me to, when I'm working with people, it's mostly people who aren't doing real well with their ADHD. And there are different parts to that, but most of it has to do with their self-image. They don't have the right attitude because they think of themselves as failures or incompetent or stupid even, in spite of the fact that ADHDers generally have at least normal, if not a lot higher intellect, IQ as measured by formal testing. But that doesn't, what you think about yourself up here isn't necessarily reality out there in the world. And there are still a lot of people who are messed up because they grew up with very large amounts of criticism. I'll just put it that way. I'm not going to put it on just the parents, but they get criticized by people who don't understand what's going on, who don't understand that it's a neurologic condition, who think it's a behavior problem and that you're just acting up and being willful and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The idea, though, is that, for me, is that your attitude, the way you think about yourself, okay, understand, very little of the abilities people have are genetic, okay? Your height's genetic, your weight's to some extent genetic. The number of fast twitch versus slow twitch muscle fibers you have uh, is inherited. But if you're a good athlete, it's because you worked at being a good athlete. If you're a good musician, it's because you worked at being a musician. If you do anything well, it's because you worked at it. Now, we just had the Olympics a month or a couple, well, I don't know how long ago, but a while ago, we had the Olympics. Those are the hardest working people in the world, literally. The kind of time they put into things like throwing a shot put or swimming, all the different strokes, all that. I mean, it is an amazing amount of work that they do. I mean, swimmers basically swim every day. And these are people that are 26, 27 years old. They've been swimming every day since they were about 6 or 7. That's a lot of devotion. But basically, that's, what you decide determines what you do. And how good you're going to be at it is dependent on how hard you work at it, how much how practicing you do. Emotions are not something that descends from the heavens. Emotions are something you generate by the way you think about things. And if you feel bad about yourself, it's because you're thinking bad about yourself a lot of times. If we could just plug into your little conversation that you're having in your head, like we all do, you'll find that if you're one of those people who thinks there's something wrong with him, that's the way you're going to think about stuff. And it's tricky for parents, and we have to, because it is, having an ADHD kid is more work than having a kid who's not got ADHD, right? But the effort is way more important. You absolutely have to make sure that they come out of this thinking that they can solve problems. If nothing else, if they can solve problems. If they know if they don't solve it the first time, if they come back the second time, they'll probably get it, or maybe the third time. It's the old Edison, he had 1,000 failures with developing the electric light bulb, but he looked at it as, well, I have found out 1,000 things that don't work. And you basically have to teach your child that attitude towards things. They have to understand that giving up is the way to stop learning stuff, stop improving your life. And it becomes a habit. Oh, this is too hard. I'll just give up. I won't do this anymore. I'll try to find something easy. Well, easy is very rarely satisfying the way, really working hard on something and getting good at it. It's one of the things that I'm concerned about when we have all these participation trophies. It's sort of like, that's not the way the world works. You get a job, you're not going to get a participation trophy or a participation paycheck just because you show up. You got to do something. And that's the way the world is. And I don't understand why anybody would think it's a good idea to just reward everybody. Yeah, so there are going to be, if you just reward the winners, there are going to be some people who are going to be upset because they didn't win. And hopefully that sort of thing is a motivation to start working on their skills. Let's say it's a baseball team, little league team. I've been watching a lot of that lately too. Little league. I'm not sure actually that kids that age should have to have that kind of pressure on them. Take a bunch of 10, 11, 12-year-olds and put them on TV. Whoa. Some of them are going to rise to the occasion. Some of them are going to have troubles with that. But what you're trying to do as an ADHD parent, as a parent of an ADHD child, is you want them to have a problem-solving, you want to encourage their natural problem-solving mentality. Okay, this didn't work. Well, what are we going to change? What do we need to do differently to make it work, whatever it is? You want to encourage that. You don't want to allow them to be people who give up all the time. That can become a lifestyle, and it is not a good thing, and it is not a happy place to see them after they're 25, 30 years old and haven't done squat with their lives. That's that's a hard one to work with, and I've had that experience a number of times. But I'm not good at that. Excuse me. I'm not good at that. I can't do that. Oh, come on. How many times have you tried? How many times have you gone back, thought about it for a while, figured something different, and tried again? Those kinds of ways of thinking about things are very important. And with my little group of podcasters here, that's what they're doing. They solve problems. Podcasting is, well, there's the content part. You have to figure out what your show's about. You have to do the research or whatever to be able to provide content for the show. Then you have to do the technical stuff to get it produced. You need a good microphone. You need editing abilities. You need to know about, well, if you're doing video, you need to know about lighting and all that sort of thing. There's a lot of different problem areas that could be issues for people. Heck, the technologies are issues for me. So they do this, and they do it well, and some of them get fascinated with it, which is okay. It's better than looking for relief at your local saloon or whatever. These people have found something that they can do, that nobody's going to tell them not how to do it, and they really like that, and they're doing decent work, and I'm real impressed with that. And I think that provides hope for parents of ADHD kids. Your child can succeed. It has to be in the right environment, doing the right thing. What is he motivated to do, or she motivated to do? And how do you encourage it? How do you encourage a problem-solving mentality? And that also requires that they are positive about themselves when they think about my worth as a human being, or that sort of thing. They can't be ashamed of themselves, and a lot of ADHDers are ashamed of themselves. Okay, that wraps us up for this week. I'm Dr. Terry James Gingras. This has been Dr. G's ADHD Chat, a show trying to make the world safe for ADHDers. My website is terrygingrasphd.com. You can sign up for coaching. I do a lot of work with the executive coaches, executive coaching for ADHDers. You can sign up on, I've got a Calendly thing, which I'm still learning how to use, but it's there, and it'll steer you to a slot where you get a free intake interview, and we find out if we can stand each other, and then we set up a regular schedule, and that sort of thing, the usual coaching stuff. I suppose I should sometime do the session on coaching, because I know I've done one long time ago, but coaching is really important and kind of ideal for ADHDers. Okay, I probably will even do a show about that. Okay, we will catch you next time. If you would like me to talk about any particular topics, please, what do they call it? DM me? Anyway, you can leave a comment on, whatever, down over there somewhere. You can comment, and I make an effort to look at those and answer them if I need to. Okay, we will catch you next time, and keep stroking.